in the United States and in the UK, and if I'm not mistaken, in Canada as well, I think the professor there can correct me on this, when you collect census data, there is data that indicates people's ethnic background, where they live, educational background, and also in some cases ethnicity.
Mr. Carney,
yeah.
At this point I would like to give you the stage and tell this to our audience,
okay,
about
sure.
how this works.
Okay. Basically, in the United States...
I'll give you the microphone.
No, it's okay. I'll try and... Okay. Basically, in the United States, what has happened is, as a result of the Equal Opportunity Act of 1964, the notion was to make sure, theoretically, that everybody would be equal. Okay? Now, equal in the U.S. terms means equality of access, not equality of material wealth or material of spiritual wealth or access to education. It means, in theory, that everybody should have the same beginning and the same possibility to achieve. And that is enshrined in the law. And to make sure that that occurs in the U.S. Census, when we count the population, which, by the way, my company is involved in doing right now, in the United States, we have a new census coming. We want to know how many people are Hispanic. We want to know how many people are of Chinese background. We want to know how many people are of Vietnamese background. We want to know how many people are of African American or indeed of African background. Okay? Now, in Europe, this is problematic. And I work in an industry where we have made a fair amount of success and a great deal of money on catering to differences. And I'll come back to that in just a moment, because I don't see that as being negative. In Europe, this is impossible. So let me just give you a practical example. If I am a manufacturer of cosmetic products, and I want to sell hair products to black women, right? Possibly, some of you might agree, that the composition of that product could be slightly different than a product that I would sell to someone blonde hair and blue eye. All right? Huh? Can we go there? Okay. So I would perhaps want to do research on how those black European women, as I like to refer to them, how they use their products, what kind of products they want to do, okay? And I would also like to have some information on their spending power so that I could target my product appropriately to make sure that I gave them the right product at a price level that made sense for them. Everybody with me? Bear with me a second. Everybody with me so far? Okay, sound logical so far?
Yeah.
Well, yes, but... hang on a second. Just let me finish and I promise I'll do it. The European scenario, as I have discovered, I am a black European. I'm Swiss. I've been living in Switzerland for the last 20 years. Is here it is illegal to correlate ethnicity and income. Okay? Now, the degree of illegality varies from European country to European country. They're not all the same in that regard, sir. I see you nodding, shaking your head. We have spent the entire summer canvassing 17 countries in Europe trying to find out what the difference in legislation is. And I would tell you that the Netherlands is such a political hot potato that none of the major international research companies would touch this market. I was waving literally $500,000 at a research company to do the research. I shouldn't name them, let me not name them. But the biggest of the big, excuse me, hang on. The biggest of the big, well, they would do the research in France. They would do the research in the UK. Nobody would touch the Netherlands because they said, Bill, it's socially at the moment a little bit too delicate. We don't want to burn our fingers. We don't want people accusing us of doing something like that. Okay? Framework, just giving you background. The other argument that I've heard, and this one makes a lot of sense, was, Bill, you don't understand. You're an American. Over here in Europe, some years ago, we had this thing called World War II. And what they did in those days was when the Nazis came into France, and I believe the same thing occurred here, although I'm not sure they got in here quite the way they wanted to, but anyway, the bottom line is when they went to France, they could look at the official documents, which listed people as being Jewish, Catholic, or whatever, and they could then go identify the Jews, pull them out of their house, and send them off to wherever they were sending them off to. And so as a result of that, in order to make sure that that never happened again, we don't collect that data anymore. Barely. I would say noble intent. That's a great idea. I mean, I would not want somebody saying, hey, let's get rid of all the black people in Switzerland. We know where they live, and we're going to get this guy Bill Carney first. Okay? So I can understand that. But at the same time, this is a two-edged sword. Because if you can't be counted, and if you can't demonstrate your economic power, when I walk into Unilever and say, Unilever, listen, I think you need to consider perhaps a marketing campaign which would be aimed at some of the ethnic minorities here in Holland, i.e. maybe a campaign that would highlight some aspects of the Moroccan culture, or a campaign that could highlight some aspects of the Surinamese culture, right? And the answer is, Bill, we're terribly sorry, we don't have the data. We don't know what the purchasing income is. We actually don't know how much money they have. So I find myself in a ridiculous situation where somebody tells me, I won't mention the company, well, we're not sure that we could advertise to those black people because after all, we know they all have cheap telephones. And I'm thinking to myself, if there's one area where black people tend to overconsume, it's in the telephone expenditures of the car. It's like, you know, this guy, because there is no research, because there is no data, it's understandably, the marketing people have a hard time doing what they would normally do very effectively. But that begs another issue. If the data isn't there, it makes you wonder, what information are the politicians using to make their decisions? And it could also be asked, if you don't know how much you're worth, I mean, what would happen if all the Moroccans got together, added up their money, and suddenly Unilever or ING or any of the other major companies suddenly discovered that this is a 15 billion euro market? God forbid, some would say. But no, it's noble intent. Please don't misunderstand the law. Because the notion is, since we're all equal, we're all the same. And since we're all the same, why should I differentiate anything? Again, noble intent, but there's a problem there, is that we are all equal, but we're not all the same. And you know something? There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that diversity is a source of wealth, exchange of ideas, exchange of culture. And there are countries who have learned to embrace this. Canada is one of them. I won't give the United States that credit, but there's been some efforts made in that regard. It seems to be, though, more of an Anglo-Saxon phenomenon than a continental phenomenon. I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm a marketing guy. All I want to do is make and sell products to customers that they appreciate. If I can't get the information to help me build and develop and market those products successfully and efficiently, I would argue that economically it's inefficient. There's a cost there. There's an additional cost that shouldn't be borne. And the other side, and I don't want to harp on the political side of this, but again, if you cannot be counted, if nobody knows what you're worth, then it could be argued you're probably not worth very much. So I understand the point of the difficulty, and I'll give you the floor in just a second. I understand the point, the problem of trying to gather this data. And I also understand the sensitivity from World War II. But let me suggest something to you all. Hey, you guys, this is 2010. Put your hand up if you got a mobile phone. Please, put your hand up if you got a mobile phone. And you're really worried about my being able to find you with GPS these days? What are we talking about? We're defending a problem that doesn't exist anymore, for which a solution has been found a long time ago. So it begs the issue, how come we're still hanging on to this dinosaur? That's a question I'd like to leave with you for you to think about.
Thank you very much. Yes, yes.
That's a beautiful question. Mag nog een applaus voor Bill Carney.